streaming. And then I go down here. It didn't go there. What did I do wrong?
Click on it. Click on the one on the left.
That is...
Go up and click on the...
Oh.
Click on that.
Okay, there I am. Okay.
There you go.
I didn't know how I got up.
So that's what happened last time too.
Where are all the people living in harmony? Ooh, 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 ooh. All right. And there's one person. Howdy. There we go. So howdy, and we're getting started here, and it's December 16th?
16th.
December 16th, 2022. Coming down to the end of the year. You do realize this will be, as we continue, I don't know what the drop date was on the first one, but we're coming close to 3 years solid, going into our 4th year of Chasing Legends. Yeah, be 4 years of 52 episodes. Because we haven't missed a week. Good evening, Aaron, and good evening, Bobby, from Hillbilly Bob. So, there we go. We're getting everything spooled up. People are kind of jumping in. So, here we are. Probably our last live for the year. The plan is, anybody joining this, and I'll repeat it probably at the end, but the idea I've pretty much had is that we will do live today, and then the next 2 Fridays we'll do archival. So it'll be the archival type of stuff loaded up on Fridays. When we come back again next year for our first live of the year, what you'll actually get is we'll have that bumper music at the beginning and end of these, and probably a hot title thing or something going on, but we'll have it all spooled up and spiffy. So I figure for the 4th year we're going in, we'll kind of make it all slick production stuff. And because we're almost professional now. I'm almost good at this. It took me 3 years and 150 some odd episodes, but gotten better. And anyone ever is curious when you're looking at this and you're trying to go like, it says episode 250. I don't know what this is, 256, 257. The first 100 lives were just live, period. I don't think we posted a few of them, didn't we? We posted a few of the original lives, and there was 100 or so, and then we started at 101 for the basically recorded Chasing Legends, and then we broke off and did lives again. So if you count the lives with the Chasing, yeah, it's a lot of stuff in the last few years. So anyhow, there we are. Happy Friday for everybody, and it's the Italian night, so it's pizza night. No Chinese tonight. Pizza night. So we'll get about an hour in or here or so, or whatever we're going to do. And yes, it is Blind Bowman. I did read your bark notes. Nothing new, but I still don't know where I saw the reply from Bark about the mine. It's not in those notes. Reply about the mine. I don't know what you're talking, but we haven't posted all the bark notes now. We're doing, I don't know how many chapters there are. What are there? 30, 40 chapters?
Total?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of chapters. It's a pretty extensive thing. So he's just doing 4 chapters of, what Bark put at first. He's checking on that right now behind me. But yeah, I don't know if the chapters are even numbered. They're just titled, I know. But it was, he was putting it into book form. And I don't know what the last chapter... Adolf Ruth would be towards the end, I would think. This is one of the last things that happened. Greetings. Having a golden day. Spotted New Mexico with a handful of nuggets. Coming to YouTube soon, Trevor.
There are 30 chapters.
30 chapters. So there's 30 chapters, and what chapter are we even on?
I think we just did number 12.
Number 12 out of 30,
Almost
so...
halfway.
We'll continue to build those, and then there'll be the archival stuff. And there's one archival thing. I don't know. Oh, no, that's an audio one. We'll have to start doing the audios, too. There's an audio one where someone reads. It's either the Holmes manuscript or the Bark Notes audio from, like, the 70s, 60s, or 70s or something. It's pretty interesting. So we'll have to do that. Okay, sounds good. I'll have to read them. Saw the bark statement back in 1988. Okay, but yeah, we're going to be continuing to load those. There is some bark quotes from Sims Ely's book that Ely did, so they're not always in the bark notes. And there are variations on the bark notes. The ones we're doing and publishing are the Al Reeser bark notes that Al Reeser had, that he turned in. And he was part of the original copy that lifted them and copied them. But there is several different versions people made. Press, okay. Gilgold Prospecting, San Antonio, Texas. So closest thing we come to a sponsor. Because guess what? Everybody else sponsors and does this and advertises and puts banners up everywhere. I know it sucks that we have to have that advertising in YouTube, but you can't fight it no more. So might as well just go with the flow. But yeah, it's so much nicer when everything's cheaper. Someone out there actually, anybody, Trevor got alerted to it. There was someone out there actually was selling our t-shirts and coffee cups. They started designing them themselves and selling them. Yeah, it was like more expensive than our stuff.
It was like $40.
Yeah, it was like $40. So beware. What's our price point on our t-shirts?
Like $21.
$21. And what's our price point on the long sleeves?
Might be like 22.
Like 22. And
like
the coffee cups?
I don't know the coffee cups.
Yeah, our prices are because we're not trying to make anything off of anybody. But yeah, there was someone out there and they jacked the prices all up and we're selling them. And so we put a cease and a desist on them. So yeah, and they basically backed off. So yeah, I can't believe we're popular enough now over time that somebody decided to try to rip everybody off. And they're not ripping us off, they're ripping you guys off. Yeah. So Joshua Tree, California. You're good. I was just starting to read Sims Ely's book again to try to find that statement. Yeah, it could be in there because Ely had some other notes and additional information from the Spangler family, which is Jim Bark's family, his wife's family. And so they loaned the notes and stuff to Ely. And then, but you got several different versions. And the versions aren't very different. Of the versions I have, and I'm using Al Reeser's because I think they're probably closest to the original source because they copied them when they were in the mountains with John Spangler. But I think they're all pretty much the same. The only changes generally were, I think someone just got something wrong or whatnot. So, which that's kind of a word, isn't it? Whatnot. Well, okay, Trevor's in his own world. He's down there. Okay, so anyhow, so again, I'm going to reiterate, we won't be on live for the next 2 Fridays. We'll be putting archival stuff up. I have a whole bunch of tapes here. And we've been copying all kinds of stuff off. There's an interview with Doc Rosenkrantz. There's a Tom Collenborn, Mina del Sombrero program he put together with Bob Ward and some people. Some more stuff from the Dons, another year of the Dons trek. Here's another Dons trek. So 2 different years of the trek. And this is Bluff Springs Mountain. There's another one, that Hackberry Springs. There's one of Clay Wurst operating the old Wasp mine. So and we're going to continue to build those archives up and do that stuff. So, do you know Tom McMomero? Tom McMomero. Nothing sounds familiar. I know Tom Collenborn. I knew Tom. There's another Tom guy. What was that guy's name? Tom. He, you would know him. God, I'm trying to remember the guy's name now. Really nice guy. I met him years ago. He was a prospecting guy. Anyways, no, it doesn't ring a bell doing it like that. Monroe. Okay, I don't know. Anyways, Todd from Redlands. I'm going to bed. You're not. What? No. We'll listen at work in a few hours. Okay. Thanks, guys. No problem. Enjoy McMorrow. No, I know Al. There's an Al. Well, I didn't know Al Morrow. But, yeah, thanks. Thanks for listening and listening later. I know there's a lot of people that do this, kind of grab this up and do it as kind of a podcast thing. They listen to it at work and stuff and go through them. So, yeah, and that's one of the reasons we get kind of an odd. We put them out. and they get odd listens and stuff and stops and starts, and sometimes our views and on our YouTube doesn't necessarily match actually the amount of people going through it, but it doesn't really bother us because, again, we're not out there for like ego trips or money or anything else. If other people want to use bots or push it or try to market it or whatever, their thing, there you go. Get Frank on here. I will. Frank's sick again. Hopefully he'll be healthy here soon. He was feeling better, but yeah, I just talked to Frank yesterday, and he was under the weather again, so he keeps his annual December cold, it appears. But yeah, I want to make sure he's getting healthy and he's doing good before we get out again and stuff. But then I get him on. But we're gonna kind of run through things with him and get him on. I want to get Magnuson in too, so I'll get the other two guys in and we'll do something with each one of them. Magnuson could be fun. I haven't talked to Magnuson for a while, so it'll be good. The guy had a picture of the mountains taped, the side copy of the Killer Mountains. That's interesting. Dated 1965. Well, and here's the thing. Remember, most of the guys' names with McGill's group in the Killer Mountains didn't really use their real names in the book. Those are all aliases for the most part. And I've met a few of them and know some of the families of a few of them. I've talked to people and stuff. So there was a lot of people involved with McGill during the book and after the book and so forth. And it could be one of those people. It could be one of those people that was involved with that stuff or knew Glenn or involved with one of the groups that came after there. It's a signed copy. Signed by who? Who signed it? I'm waiting for that. I'm going to actually wait for you to answer who signed your copy. Because my copy is actually a very, very original signed copy. Is it a is it Gentry? Give me my Killer Mountains. Give me my Killer Mountains. Mine's signed very special. Well, I didn't realize it was back behind all that stuff. I need more shelves. Yeah, Kurt Gentry. It's my signed copy.
This one?
Yeah. Should be signed.
Where at?
Let me see it.
It might be the other one you have too.
I have two? Then it might be the other one. You'll see a little inscription on it. You're going to keep me waiting, huh?
Yeah.
That's probably my original.
This one.
Yes. Mine is signed. This is my original. I have two copies. Mine is signed to Wayne from your friend Baker Looney. So I actually have a signed one from Baker Looney, who was one of Glenn McGill's employees, and I met Baker, and he signed mine. So mine's precious. Baker's no longer with us. Good guy. Had a great time talking with him and stuff. Needy? His signed copy, Needy signed it? Who's Needy? Because it was Glenn McGill. I'm trying to remember. Well, that goes with that thing, is if it's a signed copy, who knows which of those guys could have signed it. Yeah, I got Baker was there and telling me a lot of stories and told me a lot of stuff in the book that was right on point and stuff that wasn't. And actually, there's, and we'll figure out a way maybe sometime. There's not a lot of photographs of these guys. I'd love to put some of the audio interviews and the audio stuff of some of these guys up so people could listen to them. And I got hundreds of hours of audio of Bob Garman, Brownie Holmes, all these guys. I got tons of audio. And I just don't know how people feel about kind of doing that through YouTube. I guess we could do some of it, pick a particular day of the week. I got some of it already loaded in the computer. Michael Bilbrey, I got him. I'm trying to think of all the people. Andy Sinbad, Tom Collenborn, for one. I'm going through some stuff. God, I don't know. I can't tell you. Well, obviously Clay Worst, people like that. But I got a lot of stuff, a lot of old stuff from the 60s and 70s on audio. Christmas 1968. Okay, cool. But yeah, so I got my two hard copies. Hard copies. I don't remember I think one of mine's early edition, but yeah, I had my first one, and I could have used the better one. It's in much better condition, but I really wanted him to sign that first one I got, the one that got me started on this path when I was just a kid, because that was the first book, and that was the book I flew around with on the airplanes all summer and kept reading and rereading and rereading. It was very, very cool, and I could have wore that out. And then I actually retired it and got a paperback because the paperback was in the airport, and I bought the paperback because sometimes they'll add something to paperback. They didn't, but I got my little paperback of the Killer Mountains, and then I started carrying that because it was easier, and then retired my other one to the bookshelf. But I got quite a few of those books. So, but yeah, I think I'm not sure which I have the most of, but yeah, it's got quite a few volumes and copies and stuff. I will share the pic on your Facebook. Thank you. No problem. It'd be awesome. So there you go. But yeah, we're going to definitely do the two archives the next 2 Fridays, and then we'll do live again once we get into 2023. So we have the whole new production spool of doing lives out, and then we're seeing where we are with a number of other things, the old episodes that we did over the last couple of years. If we got all that stuff worked out, and we'll be pushing that stuff out and other things, and then Chasing Legends. I'm not going to do a spoiler, but this Monday will be a cool one. It'll be a little more geared to the superstitions, but I wanted to kind of do the ones where we're kind of going down the rabbit holes on stuff and answering some stuff for some people. So, and I know sometimes those things drive a particular crowd, but you can never predict, because the last one you would think would drive up and go more viral, and it didn't, because the Mogollon Monster went kind of pretty big for a Chasing Legends, because usually we get a couple thousand views out of these, and that one did like 10,000 views. So it's hard to predict what something will do. But I thought it answered things where I can do references when people meet me and talk to me or something. I can just say, hey, check out that video, and let the video do the 45-minute talk for me, or 20-minute talk. Hey, McCracken. Hey, how's Ireland, huh? Big Ellen. We're both well. Trevor, are you well?
Yeah.
I haven't seen them all day. So,
All day.
I like rabbit holes. Yes, rabbit holes are good. Twist and turn. Gopher holes, too. Maybe because maybe we're into gopher holes. Maybe they're not really rabbit holes, but I think it's just the Alice in Wonderland thing. Anyhow, it's been very cold here, too. Well, you don't know because you're not up.
I'm up.
At 4:30 in the morning?
4:30.
No, okay. Yeah, it's been pretty damn cold. So it's been down. It was down below 30 a couple mornings. And yes, I'm still doing my shorts. I did take a jacket because I pulled a muscle in my back. And, yeah. So I had to wear a jacket for a couple days to keep my back warm because the cold air was really kind of messing me up. Love your format. My format is no format. The lives, the one problem with the live, there are some, and maybe we'll find a few of them to post up of the original lives. I would actually occasionally do something specific and kind of go through something, but because I was interacting, which you find somebody from Oak Island or I'm trying to think of all these other shows, Oak Island Skinwalker Ranch, Blind Frog Ranch, God damn, I'm trying to think. Sorry, I'm getting into... See, I get too relaxed. I start swearing way too much. Wildest bar story. It was probably me just trying to fly through a window. But we have snow here. There's no snow. It rained a little, but it's been just really cold. And the other day, I think I left work to go grab a lunch, and it was like 38 degrees when I went to go get lunch. But still, lunch is pretty early for me because I eat lunch at like 9:30, 10 a.m. in the morning.
You got to experience the snow on
I got to see
Monday.
the snow on Monday. Yeah, I was up in Flagstaff, and I was still wearing shorts. I took a jacket, but yeah, but it wasn't that much colder up there. It was like 26, but yeah, there was a couple feet of snow. So I went up and picked up my other two and brought them home on Monday. Anyhow, what I was getting to, and Trevor's trying to distract me from it because I was on a mission for it, but it was cold all week, and now I have no idea what I was talking about because we're talking format here. I should have notes about some things, and I don't. I absolutely don't. 4 foot of snow, and it's been in the teens right here. Yeah, they just got 2 foot of snow in the middle of the night, and it was just like, but it wasn't bad. They had the roads plowed on my left, and the sun came out, and once the sun broke, it kind of started drying out the highway. So most of the whole trip was going to be on the highway, so I wasn't too worried. But I got up there and got back. No time flat. Took my time, so it was good. Just never heated up much. But I got them home, And now everybody's home for Christmas, so that's always kind of nice to have to worry about them there. I'm trying to remember what I was going to talk about. Do you remember? Made a visit to the museum, the Dons of Arizona. Had a nice dinner out there with the Dons. Saw Greg Davis. Hung out with Shoes. Hung out with Shoes. Frank didn't make it, but Frank's sick. Frank just badgering about. He's all angry about who knows what, but he's good. Anyhow, that's what I was going to talk about, is how you don't get all these other shows people get on, and sometimes people ask why. I'm kind of very unusual in that. There's a reason for it, because one, I'm a rebel. Two, as soon as you tell me this is the rule and hand me a piece of paper and tell me you can't do this or you shouldn't do this or this, I try to find a way around it, because I always think, well, that don't make sense. So if you take Oak Island, Skinwalker Ranch, Blind Frog Ranch, Gold Rush Whitewater, Dave Torres Lost Mine, all these guys do this stuff. You're not going to find them doing this kind of thing because they tell you not to. They tell you, don't want you on this. You can post social media about the upcoming shows or some appearance and stuff. But they very much frown upon this sort of thing because they're worried that you're too stupid to know what to talk about or whatever you're going to do. And they give you sheets of paper. I'll have to find them sometime, or we'll have to put some of it up. It's the NDA. They ask you if you've been in a porn film when you sign up for stuff. Trust me. They get very detailed into your life of things you can and cannot do and things you may have done. But anyways, one of the things is just staying off of social media. Don't read any reviews. Do not comment on reviews. If you're going to go into the Facebook stuff and all that, just say thank you or hit like, but just stay out of that stuff. So when you're like, well, why don't you ever see Marty or, Rick Lagina, or you don't see these guys doing it? Well, the reason is because they play by the rules. I don't play by the rules. I don't really give a shit. So I saw it as, I got thick skin. I really don't care. Some of you may have witnessed that thick skin, because I really don't care. You can get angry at me. You can get mad at me. You can pretty much whatever you want to say or whatever. Sticks and stones. Who cares? But I'm not rude to people. I'm not insulting. I may not always have all the time in the world and stuff. But the point being is, I thought it's kind of cool that you get to pick someone's brain that's been there and done television and done some other TV shows and done some films, and you get a chance to talk to that person without seeing them on some other program. So which means a lot of guys that do the podcast and radio programs, I don't do a lot of it. And I did, what was his name? I did Bobby Freedom shows for a while. And then I did Jack Tucker's. And that was cool. And I don't mind doing things with those guys. And there were some other guys I did stuff with. And if I can pull them some people and help them out and stuff, that's cool. I'm right there. I got no problem with doing it and answering their questions. They got their format and their program, and all the best to them. But you don't have to do that stuff. You can do this. And I can try to get other people to talk and answer a lot of questions. So it's just a different way of approaching it. But I was told, absolutely don't have anything to do with this stuff. Just post content about when appearances, shows, stuff like that. And we were told, and then I would get them complaining about Frank or someone kind of going outside that box. They didn't want you really speaking your own mind. No politics, no religion, which I don't mind. But, and then I turned to him one day and said, well, you haven't updated the Facebook page. Can I post some stuff there? They're like, oh, yeah, no problem. And I said, well, I need administrator permission to go in there and post everything. And then they just let me have the Facebook page and the social media. I think they realized, oh, he's just posting pictures like behind the scenes of the show and stuff, and it's cool for everybody, which I did. And then I sort of took the whole thing over and just ran with it. But then I realized, well, there's fun to be in it. Like the day I decided in a parking lot to go live. And I realized there's no harm in it. It's not about popularity or anything, but it's good insight for people to know and understand how this stuff all works. Because no matter what anyone says to you, if they're hoping to be on television, they're going to lie to you, because the guys from television are going to pay attention. They still call me, and this is one thing I've tried to point out to people. No matter what happens, one way or the other, whether you turn things down, because you can turn things down, they'll still call you. But they'll still call you even if you talk a little schmack or go do this, which you're not supposed to. And the whole point and purposes of that is they just see it as publicity. I'm making money. People are still watching the stuff on History Channel, and they're doing this and buying downloads, and they're still making a buck, and they're not paying me anything for it. So I'm still advertising, promoting, and doing that stuff. So they're kind of fine. I guess they're kind of cool with me, or maybe they just realize it just doesn't make any sense to even bother with me at that point. Just, hey, we'll get him on TV every year or so, and he can do an episode on something and just keep his, let him go do his own thing. And there you go. Not trying to be a millionaire by it. Okay, Wayne, that picture is on your Facebook with a copy of the sign page. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, bud. It's one of a kind in its information. That's why I watch. I don't understand that. Sometimes everything runs together. Helen, California is a sea in what? Do you think any of the Cave of Gold Bar stories in Bob Ward's book hold any truth? It's hard to say. Bob Ward, it's always hard to say, because Bob told the truth, Bob told lies, and then Bob went out and did things to make the truth. Kind of like come up with some bullshit and then make something real. So you have all three parameters, which is confusing. He was pretty smart, but I've read a number of different manuscripts, different things he had. I have just so many Bob Ward maps. I always look to it this way. If he kept drawing maps and kept trying to encourage people to look for something, I start putting it together, realize there must be something really there he wanted someone to find. So I always find that. I think there's a lot more truth sometimes to someone like Bob Ward than Chuck Crawford or Crazy Jake and some of these other guys. I think there was a lot more truth there. I just... some people are kind of strange, and they could be really onto something. They're almost afraid, like they don't really want to end it. They like the journey, the adventure so much. And I just don't see Bob Ward as the guy that would live in a nice, giant, really super nice house and drive a super nice car. There's something about him that I just don't think that would be the route he'd go. He'd still go the direction he was. Do you think okay, we did that. And so I think there is stuff out there. There is stuff out there. What was the true story of the Golden Cross? Did it exist? Golden Cross, was it stolen or protected? There wasn't a golden cross. It was a bronze cross. It was copper cross, copper bronze type cross. It was 3 by 4 feet, and I have a lot of the diary and journal information. It was there. I was told it was removed. I know the area it was in, and the mining tools were in the area. It was a very, very real thing. So, and Tom Collenborn had pictures of it. So it was a very, very real thing, and nobody knew exactly what it meant. I don't think it had anything to do with Jesuits. I don't know what it had to do. There was nothing else or no mining involved in that cave. It wasn't a mine. It was a cave it was in. So it could be where someone was blessing gold or whatever. There was no kilns, anything found in the area, which would tell you. So we don't know if they were keeping gold up there and stuff. So it's it's a very, very interesting story, because it's one of those ones where I know Tom Collenborn's dad said it didn't make any sense, because he literally, in the area they found that, and this is in the either late 20s or early 30s, his attitude was, I think it was the late 20s when they first found it. He said everything screamed at him that had to be fake, but he couldn't come up with any reason why it would be fake, because it didn't make sense, because it was in such a difficult place, and the way it was is, why would you go to that end with never a story? There's nothing attached to it. He said just didn't make sense why someone would do it, haul that thing up there and do all that. So there you go. They don't want to share something that will think others are risk. That kind of too, but then there's other people who just want people to go out and have an adventure. Remember, Bob Ward, as far as the DeGrazia's paintings, Bob Ward thought it was actually, some of the stuff he did was great, because he was creating a treasure map for people to go find treasure. And I understand that too. Frank and I have talked about, what if we did something and cached up some stuff up around the mountains, and found a way to do something where we could leave clues and do things through videos and other things. And we had an idea of, like, that would be a cool thing to do something, and make sure there's a little bit of financial value, but some also personal value to people. And then kind of do that where people could find these little wooden boxes that'd be like, it'd be a really cool thing for all of you. Anyone could come out and find it, and then they could come out and post that, hey, I found this. This is very cool. Not force-fed, not dangerous, and we didn't want it to be too cryptic. So we kicked it off and we did something to test the theory to see if people would be really up to it. We did something like that, not hiding anything necessarily, but we kind of did something cryptically to kind of catch everyone to see if they were paying attention, and none of you, not a single person got any of it. And Trevor and I thought, wow, we thought everybody would really catch that and people would notice it. And I'm never going to say what it is until I find one person that catches that. But I was like, damn, I thought I was Captain Obvious to some degree. And it just kind of like the flow didn't work for people. So that was as much as you'll ever get on that. And I've talked about it before. It just kind of blew our minds of like, if that's too tough, then some of the ideas we were coming up would be way too crazy. So that was that. And again, mentioning all those people kind of joining in as we're spooling up and people are joining us. Won't be live for the next 2 Fridays. We'll do Archival, and then we'll come back with the whole new live kind of presentation with kind of music and everything and titles at the beginning. Kind of produce it up a little bit for the 4th year. And we will be doing Chasing Legends. The next one's going to be cool. I think the next one, I say it before it happens, but I think it's going to be one of the ones cooler that might get a lot of people's attention. I've done Sal. Sal is the worst. And I don't mean that I said that came out wrong. Nobody watches the stuff with Sal. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's because they can't understand him or what it is, but I thought Sal was gold. And me and Sal have done a bunch of videos. We've done a bunch of stuff together, and it just never really takes off that well. And I don't know if it's people just can't understand him or if that's what it is. I don't know what it is. So, Salvador's kind of like, he goes and does his things, and I'm happy for Sal. Sal's my buddy. So I didn't mean that, Sal. But, so, no, I want to get Frank. I don't think Sal could do a Zoom call. Man, that'd be tough. And it's tough to understand Sal for a lot of people. Out of curiosity, then they built, how many feet of water level did it add from normal? Oh, the river flow? The river flow is completely different. Now it's a lake all the way through. Yeah, the Salt River was not the river. The river is way down below there. God, I don't know how many feet. I mean, everything, all the mines. Jim Bark had a bunch of, along with John Tuning, they had a bunch of pit mines and stuff along the Salt River. All that stuff's way underwater. I mean, we're talking 20, 30 feet underwater. And, it's an amazing amount of the original river. Everything's underwater. You missed my Peralta question above. I'm going to get back to it. I'm trying to. Did one of those Canadian whiskeys do something to go in there? Yes, they did, and that's a story I can't tell. Where's the Peralta? Okay.
I found it. You want me to read it to you?
Yeah, read me the Peralta question, because I'm going up and I'm looking, and I'm not
way
finding.
up there.
Okay.
An interesting video topic would be the chronology of the Peraltas with references. For instance, did Adolf Ruth's Peralta history exist independently of other sources?
Okay, hold on. Let's start. Remember, Adolf Ruth was a Gonzales history. It was the Gonzaleses he got his maps from, and they said they're from the Peralta family. So he was dealing with the Gonzales family, who told him they were Peralta maps. The only person I know of, the first person I know of that was looking for the Peralta family and contacting them for maps and stuff, one of the early guys was Frank Fish. Probably Barry Storm did it too. I've been trying to there's some Peralta family members and see if I can get one of them that knows a little bit of the history. They learned most of their history from us, the Dutch hunters. But find one of them. There's been people that I know a few people have contacted. It'd be cool to get one of them or a family member to talk about some of the family's history on one of these and do an interview. And that's something we could do in the future. It's just finding the right person that's comfortable doing it. So there you go. So I hope that answers that. Okay, did I really kind of hit it, Trevor?
I think so.
Okay, good deal. Okay. Canadian whiskey do something like they hit a whiskey thing in the mountains, and Larry Hedrick found that on his own by his own genius as a treasure hunter. Okay, so that's enough I'll say about that. I love you, Larry, but someday you're going to tell the truth about that. Anyhow, so yeah, the whiskey thing. There was a statue, too, they hid in the mountains, and they had to move it out because there was a problem with it being in there. I get a kick out of Sal. He got the eye. He got the devil horn too. Okay. Just at the end of the park, Dutchman's Road, and what? Just at the end of park, Dutchman's Road, and mine. What's the okay? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something there. Okay, caught that. Share something. Okay. All right. Sometimes I'm just hey, it's Friday, man. I worked today and stuff. Today was actually some of the employees and my boss came in and they were dropping off sugar goods and candy and cookies, which most of my kids get most of the stuff. And I appreciate everything by all of them. Very cool people that work with me. Cool people I work for. So it was kind of that getting down closer to Christmas and they were dropping stuff off for me and stuff. And I'll leave it at that. But everybody should be jealous because I have an awesome crew. I know a couple of them watch these and listen to them and stuff. And I don't know which ones always, but yeah, you guys are just awesome, man. And it's as much as sometimes you guys tell me I'm such a good boss, you guys are good employees. It's easy working with you guys. So I don't know, but yeah, it is true. So I got a bunch of really awesome, top-notch people working for me, and thankful I am, and I have a really good bosses too. So, and if my bosses are, yes, I appreciate you guys too. But no, so I like my job and I like the people I work with, and that's a good thing. So there you go. But you get tired, and I didn't do too much of the sugar. I didn't actually eat anything, did I? No. But I am getting hungry, and we're getting closer. We're getting closer to that hour. I still got time to go. I want my food. You're awesome first, buddy. So, but no, always treat, hey, something to learn in life. And I had this discussion with someone today. You can always tell someone who had really bad bosses because they're a bad boss. You can have bad bosses, but when you have good bosses, you can learn so much from them. And you need to incorporate that and learn your lessons from the bad bosses and not repeat. And you can be a pretty decent person. You don't have to be everybody's friend. You can make sure everybody does everything the way they need to and is safe and everything. But you got to be human, and you got to be able to talk to people like adults. And you should never be angry or crazy about stuff. And I learned from a lot of good people. And I would say there was some really good people I worked with. Dick Schwent was awesome, and Jim Schriever and Bill Husky. And I worked for some awesome people. RJ Key. I'm forgetting people, and that's a shame. But yeah, I worked for people not so good. Some people, I worked for a few people that were terrible. But some of those really good people taught me a lot. So that's always a good thing. Good advice. Mystery, Gold of Superstition, Bob Garman's has the Peralta Narrows by Queen Valley. Traces, yeah, he was kind of strange one. His book is all over the place. It's funny because if you look in the book where he was searching for Herman Petrash, when he was searching for the Lost Dutchman for Herman Petrash, he's up in Needle Canyon in LaBarge. And that's the area that they searched in. And then when he gave up searching for the Lost Dutchman, he didn't go back in that area. He stayed in Hewitt. His whole thing with Queen Valley and Hewitt and those areas had to do with him looking for silver. That was his area, and it was for looking for silver and other treasures. It was not for gold. While he did find some gold back in there, and there was some pockets and some things they did find with gold. Garman's own books, and if you listen to Bob Garman, you will realize where he was looking for the Lost Dutchman very specifically. And he gives you all the information for that. And not to the Massacre... Okay, hold it. Okay. Going, Weaver's Needle, not Matt. Well, Massacre Grounds was where they were leaving to, and that's still a suspect story. I agree. Bob Schuss and I have talked about that, and I agree with Schuss that possibly up in Fish Creek along the Salt River was where they may have been camped. There was a lot of Arastras, and there was some bars of gold found by John Burbridge, and there was a lot of activity and a lot going on in that area. And I think they say it was a running fight, so there was a lot going on, and they were moving through the mountains. The Massacre Grounds was the final stand where the last whoever was supposed to be there. And I'm not sure whether it's a true story or a fictitious story, but they said they drove back up in there. Now, the whole thing with the skeletons and all that stuff and the cavalry and all that guy stuff, and a lot of that sounds like made up crap. So, sorry for the person that made up the crap, but it sounds like he made it up. Because, hey, I'll come up with names that you can't track or trace and people that don't exist. So, but Massacre Grounds, I've known some people that found some gold up in there, but it's hard to say what gold it was. And, if it was from that or not, it wasn't much. Silver Lock and Malm seemed to have found most of the stuff. It could have been just burros that wandered up in there and died, for all we know. Sorry, I got a cough. Trevor, could you go grab me a Dr. Pepper or something? Something cold? Let's see. I hope that answered that question. I got fired 3 days ago. I'm sorry. Caught me alone in the warehouse and tried to give me his Christmas package. Okay. And his secretary called the cops on me. Okay. Rep Warbansky. 3 days ago, well, I've never taken someone alone into the warehouse and tried to give them a Yule log. There was a few fights in the warehouse, but they were fights for like differences of opinion way back in the day. Not at where I work now, but another place, another time, where just settle your differences, come walking out. Kind of almost the Yellowstone kind of thing, Settle it. If you guys don't want to fight that bad, no audience, no crowd, just go figure it out yourselves. Stuff amazingly works. Sorry if that's really true that you got fired 3 days ago and the whole thing. But you got 3 teeth. So, is there many ridges that have lots of iron that would make a compass go nuts? I don't know. I've had a lot of compass problems up in certain areas, and I always pay attention to that. There's a couple spots I want to go, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get out to them this year, but there's a few places I want to go and try the compass, and I want to try my EMF, and I want to try dowsing rods and see what kind of different reactions. I know I'm not a big dowsing rod guy. No, I don't want to eat a cookie. I got so much hate mail for eating while I was doing this. Yes, I rolled my eyes during that, but I was told don't eat anymore. But anyways, there's a few areas I want to check, because I want to check them with the EMF readings and different things to see what particularly could be going on in those spots. So it's not even just ridges, it's just there's a lot of different areas. And I've talked about that with Randy Wright and I, and the battery draining. That was a weird thing too, but the compass did spin on that. And we never could figure out exactly what it was or what specifically was causing that in the area. Well, Garmin relates gold float founding, tracing the trail I mentioned. There's lots of gold float all through the mountains. If you know you're prospecting, come on, let's say the government survey, they never finished and completed the mining stuff for the government. They never finished it. They started it, and it's been unfinished for 60, 70 years. They never completed any of that stuff. They did very, very little. They went to some mines that had no gold in it. They were closing things down. They just made their point and shut everything down. That was the whole reason. So that was it, beginning and end. And you get any good geologist who wants to be honest and is very familiar with those mountains, he'll tell you that it's not conducive in the inner mountains, but there are going to be areas that have gold. Hence, there is gold in Hewitt. In fact, along Peralta Road in that area where Bob Ward lived and that stuff, they said that should be one of the areas similar to Goldfield that is very highly conducive to gold, but we never have heard of anybody finding a lot of gold in there. So it's kind of odd and unusual, but it's very similar in makeup and everything to what was happening with like the mammoth, the black queen, the wasp, the bulldog. So it's very interesting, and Frank and I have talked about that before, that it's kind of weird. You got two very similar areas with completely dissimilar results in the mining activity there. I've been watching your videos for a couple of years now. This is my first live episode. Well, thanks for coming. Don't look for the context of how this all works. It just kind of floats around. Sometimes I just talk. Sometimes I don't catch up, but sometimes it makes sense. If that makes sense to you. The reason I asked is broken handle on a cast iron pan. Well, if you believe that story, if that's true. Can't take a metal detector back in the mountains either. I don't know. I guess an EMF meter would be breaking the law too, wouldn't it? Probably would. So, but if they don't catch you, not much they can do about it. I won't say where, but there was a place where one of the massacre could have taken place. They said the Apache dumped the bodies in, and filled it in, and found a place that matches that. Well, I've heard a lot of different theories. I like the Fish Creek and that there were several different places because it explains a lot of relics and things found in different areas, and that some of the mules and the animals could have went back up into the mountains as they scattered and so forth. I think it's one of the Apaches talked about Horse Mesa was one of the areas where they cut up the mules and stuff and prepared them, drove them up there. Oddly enough, Mitch Waite found an area where, and I think it's Jim Bark and Sims Ely talked, they found a lot of bones up there, mule bones and stuff. They thought that had to be the place. So that tells you that they were within a certain vicinity of that. Bob Ward also found a rock there's up on Bluff Springs where there was a lot of stuff pounded out on it. He felt it was, today if you could find the rock, if there was any traces of it still, you could find the DNA and find out if it's mule blood or cow blood or deer blood, what it possibly is. And but I don't know if there would be enough, or that would be enough of a thing to really drive it, just say that they were pounding skins out on that rock. The Horse Mesa one is interesting because I think it's in Sims Ely's book. They talk about it. I don't know if Jim Bark's notes really talk about it. It might briefly. But they did find bones all covering up there. Mitch Waite found a lot of stuff up there, too, that said that there had been something happened up there. And then there are a few of the Apache stories having to do with that. So, but that's a big area. If you're up in Horse Mesa, if you ever get up into Horse Mesa and stuff, that's a big area. There's a lot of cool stuff up there. There was something went on up there, and obviously the Mexicans or Spanish, someone was up there because they built some stone corrals and some other things up there. And there are occasionally artifacts found up on top, so it's a very cool area. It gets forgotten in the mix of things, but it is a very interesting area. I found ox bones, mule bones, but not up there. Thoughts? Have you seen or heard of Egyptian stuff being found? There is a story, and I'd have to go through my archives, of the Egyptian mummy being found south of the Superstitions. I think it's not the Santan Mountains. I don't think so. But it's somewhere just south of the Superstitions. There was an Egyptian mummy and some stuff. Sal knows the story. He knows the story. He talked about it before. It'd be hard to decipher it. But I remember someone told me the story once, and they said it was an Egyptian mummy and a bunch of stuff. There was not to be confused with the woman that was mummified up in the Superstitions, up above, going into Brush Corral Basin. But this was down south, and it was a cave. And God, I used to know the story and the people's names associated with the guy who supposedly found it and talked about it. And some people said he was full of shit. And then some people said that he had something, an amulet or something about it. God, I'm trying to remember who knew that story. I think Joe Roboto might have known it too. Tom knew it. It's one of those stories that I would think a lot of guys, Tom wouldn't have wrote about it because he didn't believe it. So, not Egyptian. Now we're changing things. Azalin. Egyptian Azalin. Okay, whatever. Joe did. Yeah, Joe had a lot of stories, but he also knew Joe was a good guy. I miss Joe so much. But Joe was a good guy because he collected a lot of these odd anecdotal stories. And I think he even believed that Egyptian princess one was kind of bunk. But it was a great story to tell in camp to people and stuff. But you can never say never and never say no to anything, especially if you haven't seen anything of it. But I have to ask Greg Davis too, because he might remember it too. And I want to say Santan Mountains, but I don't think maybe it wasn't the Santan Mountains. But I know it was a cave, and the guy went into it and found the Egyptian mummy and some other stuff, and he took some stuff out of there. And there's some other cursed thing, and something happened. It was kind of a big story. But that was so long. It's been probably 20 years since I've heard anybody tell that story. And I'm pretty sure Joe knew it. Sal knows it. Sal probably knew the guy was in there with him when they did it. And then One of the stories I got up will involve some of that stuff. I don't know if it involves the Egyptian thing, but no, it doesn't. Okay, never mind. No, there's the Grand Canyon Egyptian stuff and all that. But I've never found anything Egyptian in Superstitions. Found that weird There's that weird Templar cross up in Black Top Mesa, which I don't know. And then I joke with Trevor, there's the guy with the big stone hammer down by Second Water. It's like he's Thor or something. It's weird. He's a petroglyph, and he's like got a hammer thing. I was like, I always joked about that. Yeah, well, the Norsemen were in there, so suddenly we're in Gaiman's American Gods or something going on in there. But it's kind of a really weird thing. The Aztecs, I always, whatever happened with the trades and stuff and familiarity, there might have been some people, Aztecs, that traveled up into here and kind of trying to get away from everything that was happening. And I fully believe that. There's been enough stuff and little pieces of things that there was some trade going on. I think with everybody vanishing the way everybody was vanishing, who knows? They have their theories. One of the theories someone told me once was possibly the reason is when everything was going to crap for the Aztecs. The other thing, on the other hand, is that's about the time period, remember, just before that the Hohokam, the Salado, the Anasazi, all them, they started disappearing. And some people say it's because of the advent of the arrival of the Spanish, that once the Aztecs that tried to leave and they came up in, they all pushed out and pushed away and dissipated from those communities trying to get away because of what was going to happen with the Spanish, because they realized there was some smart people that realized, this is not going to end well, which it didn't. The Spanish came in and did their thing. So I always like the way people try to rewrite history and stuff, but yeah, we don't have any, of course, there's no written language and anything of those groups in there, but there's stuff we worked on concerning that. And then one of the big open-ended things is trying to understand certain history and certain things and how they're relevant. One thing I once told people is, the certain groups wouldn't eat fish. And I said, what that's pertaining to is that there's a shaman or medicine man or someone who hated fish. And he came out and then told everybody, or someone got sick from eating some bad fish. And then the determination was fish is bad. And then fish becomes taboo. And it was sometimes health reasons. They were smart enough to realize it's like, this is health reasons, but we'll come up with a big story to convince people why not to do it. And you think that's kind of like, that can't be true. They even do it today, don't they? Always on the news, you hear about things, and then later you relate to it and go like, that's kind of weird. We just went through something very similar where they kind of just have BS'd everybody one way and the other. And you find out eventually that most of it, none of it's true, but people will buy into it like sheep. As much as a huge percentage of this country will buy into something, because when it's your health and the people talk about dying, you will listen. And back then was the same thing. When it comes, you see a dead guy, you'll listen to the guy that's telling you he died because of this. And most people are going to say, well, he should know. They're not going to listen to the other guy who says, well, no, maybe it was just a one-time thing. No. So there you go. It's not politics in that. It's just that's the way things go. And today we have a different way of disseminating and moving knowledge out. And people should be allowed to decide for themselves, and nobody should force you to do anything you don't really want to do, especially if it's not a life and death circumstance. But they will create that always to do so. So hence we have all these little precautionary things through tons of things in life because of that. Bad fish, and yeah. See, there you go. But that's what happens. And you have that guy that does that, and he's in charge. What's going to happen? Nobody's eating fish, because nobody's bringing fish back in here. No, you don't eat no fish. So I get that. No. And that perfectly relates to what happens. And what happened 1,000 years ago, or 1,500 years ago, or 500 years ago still happens today. Well, it's just a different way that it gets pushed out there. Was Herman Petrash's camp under the boulder in Upper La Barge? Ward mentioned it in Ripples. He had several camps. He camped all over the place. He had different camps all through the mountains. He camped up in Tortilla. He camped up in Fish Creek. The only place I don't know that I've never seen in a diary or journal of him camping is at Herman's Cave. Wouldn't have been a good place to camp. It was kind of open, and I just don't see it. But he camped in a lot of places, and definitely in LaBarge and Needle Canyon. He spent a lot of time. He spent a lot of time up around Bluff Springs, but he spent time up in Horse Mesa on Fish Creek, and then down in Fish Creek by Lost Dutchman Canyon. So he was all over the mountains, depending where he was working, but he was also all over the county and stuff. I mean, there was times he would just go to work somewhere else. So you have to always take that in as, there's ranch records where you can see there was a lot of times he was working for one of the ranch families, and we have the log books that show he was working, and, Herman Petrash, 5 cents bar of soap. And so we learn what he was doing at periods of time, but always take with a grain of salt when people say that's where he definitely camped, because I think he moved around a lot. So, and then people later would tell you different things anyways, because the first thing you do is say, well, definitely he was here, this is where his main interest was, and then they drive you, and somehow that guy ends up paying for the food and stuff. Never, hey, that's the way it goes. There's a city gold in the Grand Canyon. There you go. Ward said it was the farthest into the mountains he could get from Reinhardt's instructions. But, that's another weird thing is that, the whole thing of Reinhardt and Herman had a feud and they didn't speak for years and blah, 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 blah. And they talked the whole time. They filed mining claims together. That's like the biggest bunk of Holmes BS, kind of splitting people off and all. Soon as Reinhardt went to get his pension, and he found out he couldn't get his pension immediately, he made sure he contacted Herman, and Herman said as much, that my brother contacted me as soon as he found out we weren't naturalized citizens, to make sure that I got my things taken care of. When Reinhardt died, Herman was immediately there and took care of his things and his funeral and stuff. Ended up with his things. They spent time in the mountains and stuff. I think there might have been some arguments and stuff. I think a lot of it's overblown. I think they had to do what they had to do. There was many years right after Waltz died that they traveled together with their father and together, just the two of them, quite extensively. So I've learned more and more and picked them up. And if you go through census records, you'll find some of that. But yes, Herman traveled probably the most. Reinhardt seemed to settle down and hold more steady jobs here and there, but Herman maybe had more of the wanderlust, taking off and doing this and doing that before he finally settled down and ended up working with the Martins and that family. But don't buy into the whole thing that they were in some argument or something, or Reinhardt didn't listen and all this. They both had a lot more clue of what they were doing than people think they were. They also had a lot of people following them and paying attention and stuff. Just saying, if we knew where that camp of Herman's was, it would help them. But there was a lot of camps. I'm just telling you, there was a lot of camps. I know a lot of places he was in the mountains from people's journals that search. He was a partner of Tom Collimorton's dad off and on for about 10, 12 years. And he was a partners with Reinhardt. And you could find a lot of places they were. And a lot of people knew. And if you're in the mountains and you have a base camp or you're living back in there, the time that you're really searching for something you don't want anybody to know about is the time nobody knows where you're at. Put it that way. So if I was back in the mountains and trying to make sure that, I guess food's here, so we're going to be cutting it short here in a minute. But I know where Waltz's camp was. Okay, cool, good. And then you just share it with us, and we'll all go get the gold, and then we'll take the gold and we'll split it up. And I only want like 5%. I need the smallest percent. I'm good. But, so there you go. And if you know where Waltz's camp is, just dig up the potholes, because there's a couple potholes still full of gold. So remember, he told Reinhardt and Julia, the main part of the gold, and the one thing that nobody's ever come up with is the ore from those holes, that high rich ore that would actually dictate that the mine was somewhere nearby. So, and they're from wherever his camp is, they're within eyesight, so you can see them from his campsite. So there, even shares. You don't need even shares. I don't need that much. I'm doing good. Oh, well, now there's a fire engine and an ambulance going by.
Well, they came from down the street.
Okay. Not so good for somebody. Well, hopefully, no lights are running and they're taking it easy, so hopefully it's just something, a slip and a fall. Herman's camp. Okay, but you're talking the ripples, and I'll look that up, and maybe we'll have a discussion about it again. Any really good supernatural. I've kind of covered those. I've done some videos. You got the Stickman one. Look up the Stickman. I don't know. There was whatever showed up on my camera down in the old Lost Dutchman store. A few things like that. I've told some odd stories and tried to do them, the lantern and that stuff, and put them out there when there's been some odd happenings. I'm not a supernatural guy. I'm not a paranormal guy. I'm a guy just go stay out in the mountains, and when weird stuff happens, I always just kind of figure there's probably an explanation, and I go back to sleep. I'm probably the worst person to have paranormal experiences with. You can say, well, that over there, that lantern just turned itself on and levitated through the room. And I would say, go back to sleep. It's too late. We can talk about it in the morning. So I'm not that interested. So, I don't know. But anyhow, we're going to get wrapping things up here. Pizza is on fire. I hope it's not on fire. It just got delivered. The pizza's here. Can't smell it, but I know it's here. So that means I'm working on exit strategy now. Everybody have a good weekend. I'm from Scottsdale, raised in Old Coronado High School. 70s was photojournalist, The Progress, and the Repub. I recall sheriff posse that explored the mountains in the 70s. Cool, very awesome. I'm sorry you joined us late. We're just getting ready to get out of here. Go eat, you guys. Yeah, I got a Stickman. Yeah, look up the Stickman. The Stickman. I'm trying to think. There was the Lantern. There's a few others. Look through them. There's the Mogollon Monster, but that was up by the Rim area in Strawberry. There we go. Thanks for the info, Wayne, and chat. Always good, everybody. Stay free. Stay safe. Where Goltz's Grant mine at? Where was Grant mine at? I'd have to look that. You're talking about the Grant and the Big Rebel and stuff. I got it written down somewhere. Someone told me where it was, the General Grant. I'll have to look that up. That's a good one too, because I think I got GPS coordinates of 2 different places that people claim it was, because there was nothing specific on it. So I'll look that one up too. I'm trying to remember. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here because I hear dishes and silverware hitting the table and stuff, and it's Friday night and I'm hungry. I haven't eaten since like 9:30, so you can imagine. Yes, it's been close to 8 hours that I haven't eaten, so I'm ready to eat. So there you go. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you everybody for coming on in. Hope you know there are 3 mines. It says 2 mines? 3 mines. Never mind. But anyways, thank you for everybody. Thank you, Bowman, for coming on in. Bowman, Robert, you keep changing your name. But next week, come back as Joe Smith. That'd be fun. What? But anyways, thanks everybody for coming in and the good conversations, everything. I look forward to it. I hope you guys do too. And I hope everybody understands the sense of humor and everything and the levity to it all. Nobody gets insulted. And if you do, again, like I said, that thick skin thing, I'm just kind of cool with it. It sticks and stones. But I hope everybody has a great weekend. Good night. God bless. Yeah, everybody have a great Christmas, because we won't be doing probably the lives again till the new year. And then we'll be back with a bunch of new lives, but we're going to do some archival stuff, and there might be a little opening for that I do shoot on it. But yeah, mainly the thing you'll be getting from me is a couple Chasing Legends before the new year. What's the fine for having a metal detector in Superstition Mountains? Nobody I know has been caught. I don't know. It's in there in the rules, probably 10 grand or 5 grand or something ridiculous. But they got to catch you with it. Just throw it off a cliff and go, what metal detector? So, or run, because the green shirts don't run very well. And they'll probably just give up and get tired. They don't get back there that far. So thanks, everybody, for coming on in. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everything. Thanks. I hope everybody has a great Christmas and good holidays through all this. Catch us back on Monday when we do when we do the next episode of Chasing Legends. I think this next one everybody's going to really enjoy. I'm looking forward to knocking it out this weekend. So, until the next time, everybody, please remember, have yourself a Merry Christmas. I'm Wayne Tuttle. You're not. And this was Legends Live. Nailed it. Now I got to figure out how to end it. There we go.